The girl with tired eyes. It was late evening in Los Angeles. The kind of evening where the world seems to slow down, and the golden light kisses the edge of every surface, as if even the sky is too tired to shine brightly. Cars moved slowly through the city streets, and a soft breeze whispered down the sidewalk. Across from a run-down bus stop stood a small grocery store, one that didn't look like much from the outside, just flickering signs and windows covered in ads, but for many who walked through its doors, it was their last hope. Inside, under the hum of aging lights and the smell of stale bread and old floors, a young woman stood in the baby products aisle. Her name was Emily. She couldn't have been more than 24. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, her oversized hoodie sagging from the weight of worry. Her jeans were torn at the knees, not because of style, but because she couldn't afford new ones. In her arms, she held a sleepy toddler wrapped in a thin, worn-out blanket. The boy had soft curls and big brown eyes that blinked slowly. His name was Lucas. He was only 14 months old. His cheeks were a little pale, his hands small and cold. He didn't cry. He just leaned against his mother, trusting her with the kind of blind faith only children possess. Emily looked down at a small pack of diapers. Her hands trembled. She checked the price tag again, as if her eyes might have read it wrong the first time. Then slowly, she reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a few crumpled dollar bills and a handful of coins. She counted them. Once, twice, a third time. Her face didn't change. She had done this dance many times before. She knew how it ended. People walked by, not noticing her. A man in a suit passed with headphones in. A woman chatting on the phone didn't glance her way. The cashier stood behind the counter, checking his nails. The store was full, but somehow Emily was invisible. With a deep breath, she walked slowly to the counter. She placed the diapers on the belt. The cashier, a tall teen with tired eyes, scanned it without saying a word. The screen blinked the price. Emily reached out and laid down her coins and bills like pieces of her soul. The cashier looked at the money, then at her. He didn't speak, but his eyebrows moved just a little. "You're short," he said finally. "By $1.78. Emily nodded. She had expected this. Still, something in her chest tightened. She turned and looked at Lucas. He blinked at her, eyes glassy, a little cough escaping his lips. Can I just take half the pack?" she whispered. The cashier looked annoyed. "That's not how this works." Emily felt tears sting her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. She picked up the diapers again and turned, ready to walk away. She would try somewhere else. Maybe someone on the street would give her spare change. Or maybe Lucas would have to wear a towel again tonight. She hated that. He deserved better. Just then, the door chimed. Someone walked into the store. The sound of boots on tile echoed lightly. Emily didn't turn around. She just kept walking toward the exit. But the man who had walked in saw her. He saw everything. He saw the tired sway in her step. He saw the way she cradled her child like he was the most fragile treasure in the world. He saw the diapers in her hand and the way her shoulders trembled, even though her face was calm. His name was Keanu Reeves. He wore a beanie pulled low and a soft flannel shirt. He didn't look like a movie star. He looked like someone who had been walking alone for hours, just thinking. And maybe he had been. He didn't speak at first. He simply watched Emily. And then, just as she pushed the door open, he took 3 steps forward. "Excuse me," he said softly. Emily stopped. She turned around, startled. Keanu stepped closer, keeping his voice gentle. "I think you forgot something." She looked down, confused. "What?" "Those diapers," he said, nodding toward the pack in her arms. "You need them." I can't afford them," she whispered, cheeks burning. "Then let me," he said. Emily shook her head quickly. No, please, I can't. I don't. What charity? We're okay. Keanu nodded. I believe you. But this isn't charity, it's kindness. Just one person helping another. The cashier watched in silence, eyes wide now. Others in the store were starting to notice. Emily hesitated. Why? Why would you help me? Keanu looked at Lucas, who blinked at him slowly. Because once, Keanu said quietly, someone helped me, and I never forgot how much it meant. Emily stood still. She didn't know who this man was. She had no idea he was one of the most beloved actors in the world. All she saw was a kind stranger with tired eyes and a gentle voice. Thank you, she whispered. Keanu stepped up to the counter and paid for the diapers. Then, without hesitation, he added baby formula, some soft blankets, and a small stuffed elephant. As he handed them to her, he smiled. For Lucas. Emily felt her throat tighten. She couldn't speak. She could only nod. She walked out of the store slowly, carrying her child and the kindness of a stranger. The wind had picked up. Outside, it was getting cold. But her heart felt warm. Keanu watched her go. Then he turned, picked up a loaf of bread for himself, and quietly left. But that was not the end. Outside, as Emily sat on a bench to fix Lucas's blanket, a man in a black car took a photo. He had seen everything. He wasn't paparazzi. He was just a guy with a blog about kindness. He uploaded the photo with a simple caption. Keanu Reeves helps young mother in need. No cameras, no spotlight. Just kindness. Within hours, it was everywhere. And that photo would change everything. Because what started as a simple act of help would uncover a story much bigger than anyone expected. Not just about diapers. Not just about a famous man. But about a girl whose life was about to take a turn so unbelievable, it would leave the world speechless. The story behind her eyes. Next morning, the sun rose slowly over the city, casting long shadows between the buildings. While most people rushed to work or slept through alarms, a small miracle was already unfolding online. The photo of Keanu Reeves handing a bag of baby items to an unknown young woman had gone viral. News anchors were already mentioning it. Blogs were calling it the moment that restored our faith in humanity. But for Keanu and Emily, it wasn't about internet trends. They didn't know the photo existed yet. Keanu woke up in his quiet home with no staff. No noise, just the rustle of trees outside his window. He made a cup of black coffee and stared out at the garden. Something about the girl from yesterday still lingered in his mind. Her eyes weren't just tired. They were heavy, like she was carrying years of pain behind a calm face. He set the mug down. Then he reached for his notebook, the one where he scribbled thoughts, lines of poetry, or things he didn't want to forget. He wrote just one line. A mother shouldn't have to choose between pride and diapers. Meanwhile, Emily sat on the floor of a tiny one-room apartment. The walls were cracked, and the ceiling had a brown stain from the rain that never got fixed. There was no furniture, only 2 cushions and a rolled-up towel for Lucas to sleep on. The heat barely worked. But for the first time in weeks, Lucas had clean diapers and a full bottle of formula. Emily held him close and rocked him gently. She whispered, "You're safe today, baby." The small stuffed elephant from the store lay beside Lucas. He gripped its trunk while falling asleep. Emily kissed his forehead. But her heart was still racing, not from fear this time, but confusion. Who was that man? Why had he helped her without asking anything in return? The knock on her door startled her. She moved quickly, stepping over a broken floorboard to reach it. Outside stood Maria, her neighbor from across the hall. Maria was holding her phone and shaking with excitement. "Emily," she said breathlessly. "Have you seen this?" "Seen what?" "Girl, you're on the internet, everywhere. Look at this picture." Emily stared at the screen. It was her, and Lucas. And the man Keanu Reeves. Her breath caught. "How did this happen?" "Some guy must have seen you at the store. Everyone's talking about it." People are crying. They're saying you, and that man gave them hope. Hope? Emily repeated, as if the word didn't belong to her. Maria nodded. They don't know who you are, but they're calling you brave. Strong. Someone said they wish they could help you. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. They don't even know me. Maybe, Maria said softly, but maybe they want to. Emily sat down on the cushion, stunned. She wasn't used to being seen, let alone praised. Her life had been made of closed doors and whispered apologies. Now the world was looking at her and calling her strong. Keanu, too, was surprised when his friend sent him the article. He read it silently. He didn't smile. He didn't call his agent. He just shook his head. They weren't supposed to see that, he whispered. But then he saw the comments. Thousands of people asking, who is that girl? Is she okay? How can we help her? And something stirred in him. He picked up the phone. Hey Diane, he said to his assistant. I need you to find someone. A girl, maybe 24. Dark hair, baby named Lucas. Find her, please. I need to make sure she's okay. Diane paused. You got it. Emily, meanwhile, was in shock. Later that day, a man knocked on her door. He was polite, dressed in jeans and a hoodie, and held a press badge. He smiled kindly. Miss, I don't mean to bother you. I'm from the local paper. We saw the photo. People are reaching out, hoping to learn more about you. Would you mind telling us your story, just a little? Emily hesitated. I'm not trying to get famous. I just want to take care of my son. I understand, the reporter said gently. But maybe your story can help someone else. You never know who's listening. After a long pause, Emily nodded. She agreed to sit down and talk. Just once, her story was simple but powerful. She had grown up in a small town. Her mother had passed when she was 14. Her father left soon after. She was raised by her grandmother, who died before Lucas was born. She had been working at a small diner until it shut down during lockdown. With no family, no partner, and no savings, she had struggled to make ends meet. Sometimes she skipped meals so Lucas could eat. Sometimes she borrowed diapers from strangers, or used towels when she couldn't. She had walked into that store yesterday not looking for pity, but hoping for a miracle. And she got one. I don't even know his name, she said quietly. But he saved us. The next day, the article came out. The mother behind the viral photo. Meet Emily and Lucas. People everywhere began donating. Not just money, but diapers, baby food, toys. Even job offers started coming in. Emily didn't know how to process it. For someone who had been invisible for so long, being seen felt like walking into the sun. But not everyone was kind. Few comments said she was taking advantage. Others said she probably planned the whole thing. Some even said Keanu should have helped someone more deserving. Emily cried quietly that night. But Lucas gripped his stuffed elephant and giggled in his sleep. And that sound reminded her why she had to stay strong. On the other side of the city, Keanu finally got a call. We found her, Diane said. Her name is Emily. She lives in a small apartment with her baby. Would you like to reach out? Keanu paused. Yes, but not through the press, and not with cameras. Just ... Let her know I'd like to talk, if she wants to. Diane made the call. The next morning, Emily picked up with a shaking hand. Hi, this is Diane. I work with the man you met at the store. Emily's heart skipped. You mean ... him? Yes. He'd like to speak with you, privately. If that's okay. Emily clutched Lucas tighter. Yes, that's more than okay. And just like that, two paths that had crossed for a moment were about to meet again. This time not by accident, but by choice. What neither of them knew was that something much bigger was waiting. Something that would reveal, not just kindness ... but truth. Because deep in Emily's past was a secret, one that could change everything for KeanuReeves. And the world watching Asterisk the secret in her Storive apartment smelled like warm baby powder and quiet hope. Emily had cleaned every corner since the call. She didn't own much, but she laid out the 2 cleanest cushions and put Lucas in his best little sweater, a faded blue one with tiny bears on the sleeves. She didn't know what to expect. The man had helped her without even knowing her name. Now he wanted to talk. Why? She wasn't nervous for herself. She was nervous because it felt too kind, too rare, like life had finally handed her something good, and she didn't want to drop it. The knock on her door was soft, but certain. Emily opened it, and there he was. Keanu Reeves. The same quiet eyes, same soft voice. But this time, he was looking directly into her life. "Hi," he said gently. "Thank you for letting me come." Emily nodded, a bit stunned. "I should be the one thanking you." He stepped inside and glanced around, not judging, just observing. His eyes landed on Lucas, who was chewing on the stuffed elephant's ear. The sight made Keanu smile. "He looks happier today," he said. "Because of you," Emily whispered. They sat down. Lucas crawled into Emily's lap, curious about the visitor. Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded paper. "I wrote something after I saw you yesterday," he said. "I don't usually share my writing, but this one's for you." Emily opened the paper. In neat, careful handwriting, it read, "She carried more than a child. She carried storms and silence, but still gave him sunshine." Emily blinked fast, trying to keep tears from falling. "That's beautiful," she whispered. "No one's ever written something like that. For me." Keanu shrugged slightly. "Sometimes a moment writes itself." They sat in silence for a while. The kind of silence that feels peaceful, not empty. Then Emily said something that changed everything. "My grandmother used to write poetry too." Keanu turned to her. "Really?" Emily nodded. "She raised me after my parents disappeared. She had these old journals, full of poems, short letters, unfinished thoughts. She always told me that words could heal, but they could also hide pain." "What happened to her?" Keanu asked softly. "She passed 3 years ago," Emily replied, her voice trembling. "I found one of her old notebooks last week. In it, there was something strange." "What do you mean?" "A letter, never sent, written to a man named Samuel Reeves." Keanu froze. The name cut through him like a cold wind. Samuel Reeves. His father. Emily noticed the shift in his face. "Do you know that name?" Keanu leaned forward slowly. "Yes, he was my dad." Now it was Emily's turn to freeze. "Your dad?" she said, voice nearly cracking. Keanu nodded. "I haven't seen him in decades. He left when I was young. I don't talk about him much." Emily stared at the floor. Then, slowly, she stood and walked over to a small box hidden behind a stack of blankets. She pulled out a torn notebook. The cover was faded. Inside, in blue ink, was a letter. "Dear Samuel, I don't know if you remember me, but you left behind something you should know about. She's beautiful. She has your eyes, and she will never know you unless you come back." Emily handed the letter to Keanu. "I don't know if this is a mistake. Maybe it's just a coincidence." But Keanu shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "I recognize this handwriting." "You do?" "My dad used to get letters like this. He told me once that a woman had written him years ago about a child. He never opened the letter. He threw it away." Keanu looked at Emily. "Do you think?" Emily covered her mouth. "Are you saying you and I might be?" Keanu nodded. "Half-siblings." Lucas made a tiny sound in her arms. Emily sat down slowly. Her whole world was spinning. The man who had helped her at the grocery store, the man who handed her kindness when she had nothing, might actually be her brother. "I don't even know what to say," she whispered. "Maybe we don't need to say anything yet," Keanu said. "Just let it be real for a minute." They sat in silence again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was filled with questions. Memories, cracks in the past they hadn't noticed before. Finally, Keanu said, "Do you remember anything about your parents?" Emily closed her eyes. "My mother's name was Martha. My grandmother raised me because my father disappeared. No one ever told me who he was, just that he was gone." Keanu looked out the window. "My dad was known for walking away from people. Maybe he left 2 families." The room felt heavier now. Lucas yawned and leaned against Emily. "I always wanted a brother," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "But I never imagined he'd be the one to buy diapers for my son." Keanu chuckled softly. Life has strange ways of bringing people together. He stood and walked to the door, but before he left, he looked at Emily one more time. "Can I come back tomorrow?" Emily nodded. "Please." As he left, the city outside buzzed with noise. Cameras flashed, people speculated, but neither of them cared about the internet or the fame. They were caught in something deeper now. A story too strange to write. A bond neither of them saw coming. But somewhere, perhaps in the pages of that old journal, it had all been written long before, because destiny doesn't knock. Sometimes it walks into a grocery store with tired eyes and kind hands. The test that could break everything. The next day, the sun came through the window in soft streaks of gold. Lucas was already awake, playing with the stuffed elephant on the floor. Emily was quiet as she watched him, her thoughts tangled like threads in a drawer. How could life change so fast? Yesterday, she was unknown, invisible. Now the world knew her face, and the man who had bought her diapers might actually be her brother. She didn't want to get her hopes up, she had learned. The hard way hope could be a dangerous thing. A knock came at the door. It was gentle, familiar. She opened it, and there stood Keanu again, holding 2 coffee cups. "I didn't know what you liked," he said softly, "so I got one with sugar and one without." Emily took the one with sugar and smiled. "You guessed." "Right." They sat down again, Lucas playing between them. Keanu single quotes. Eyes drifted to the old notebook on the floor. "I read that letter again last night." "Me too," Emily said. 100 times. Neither of them said the words they were thinking. What if it's true? What if we're family? "I think," Keanu said slowly, "we should know for sure." "Not just wonder." Emily looked at him. "A DNA test?" she asked. He nodded. She held her breath. It felt like a wall had risen between them when they hadn't needed yesterday, when everything was just emotion and instinct. Now it was science. Answers. Facts that might ruin everything. But she nodded. "Okay." They agreed to do it that day. Keanu called someone he trusted, a private doctor, someone who knew how to keep things quiet. The doctor arrived within hours, discreet and respectful. Swabs were taken gently. Forms were signed. "Results in 48 hours, the doctor said. "I'll call you both." After the doctor left, Keanu stayed. They didn't talk about the test. Instead, they made lunch together, mac and cheese and toast. Lucas spilled juice on Keanu's jeans, and instead of getting annoyed, Keanu laughed. Emily watched them. Her heart felt warm, but nervous. She hadn't smiled like that in a long time. Later, as Lucas napped, Keanu sat by the window. "I don't know what the results will say," he murmured. "But even if we're not related by blood, I'm still here." Emily looked up. "You mean that?" "Of course," he said. "You're not alone anymore." Emily's eyes filled with tears. No one had said that to her in years. Just before he left, he placed a small envelope on her table. "This is for Lucas," he said. "Don't open it now. Wait until after the test." "Why?" "Because it only matters if we're truly connected," he said softly. The next 2 days felt like a lifetime. Emily barely slept. She went through the motions feeding Lucas, cleaning, trying to stay calm, but inside, her heart was racing. She remembered the way her grandmother used to read her bedtime stories, stories of long-lost siblings found after years. Stories of miracles. She never thought she'd live one herself. Finally, the day arrived. The phone rang while Lucas was stacking blocks near the window. Emily's hands shook as she answered. "Hello? This is Dr. Morrison," the voice said kindly. "I have the results." Emily swallowed hard. "Yes?" "The test shows a 99.7% match between you and Mr. Reeves." She didn't understand at first. "You mean?" "Yes," the doctor said. "He's your half-brother." The phone dropped from her hand. Lucas blinked and clapped, thinking she was playing. Tears ran down Emily's cheeks. Her whole body felt light and heavy at the same time. She wasn't dreaming. This was real. She texted Keanu one word, "Yes." He replied with 3, "I'm on my way." When he arrived, they didn't speak right away. They just hugged. A deep, real hug. The kind that says you were lost, and now you're found. Finally, Keanu pointed to the envelope on the table. "Now you can open it." Emily tore it gently. Inside was a handwritten letter. "Dear Lucas, if we're family, I want to be more than the man who bought your diapers. I want to be your uncle. I want to be the person who shows up for you, always. And if your mom ever says, it's okay, I'd like to help make sure you grow up safe, strong, and loved." Underneath the letter was something else. A check. Emily gasped. It had too many zeros. Double quotes. "No," she said immediately, handing it back. "I can't accept this." But Keanu didn't take it. "You're not accepting a gift," he said quietly. "You're accepting family. This isn't about money. It's about support." Emily's hands trembled. "Let me help you get on your feet," Keanu said. "A proper home, a job, daycare for Lucas. Whatever you need to stand tall." She nodded slowly, still overwhelmed. "But only if you promise me something," he added. "What?" "That you'll never feel small again." Emily took a deep breath, and she promised. Together, they started the next chapter. Keanu helped her find a new apartment, not fancy, but warm and clean. He introduced her to people who helped her find part-time work. Lucas was enrolled in a good daycare, where he made fast friends. They visited parks. They took photos. They laughed. The internet buzzed when they posted a photo together, Keanu, Emily, and Lucas, under a tree in a park. The caption read, "Family isn't always planned. Sometimes it finds you in the grocery store." And the world fell in love with their story again. But it wasn't over, because one night, as Keanu sat with Lucas on his lap, telling him a story, Emily looked through another old notebook of her grandmother's, and there, tucked in the back, was a second letter. This one was different. This one had a name neither of them had seen before, and when she read it, her hands froze. She whispered, "Keanu. You need to see this." He looked up, confused, but the moment he read it, his expression changed. The letter wasn't about Emily. It wasn't from her grandmother. It was from Keanu's own mother, and it mentioned a second child she had tried to find for years. "I don't understand," Keanu said. Emily looked at him, eyes wide. "What if there's someone else out there?" She whispered, "Someone we haven't met yet?" And just like that, a new mystery began. The letter that changed everything. Again's room was quiet, except for the gentle hum of the heater and the soft breaths of Lucas sleeping on the couch. Emily held the old letter in her hands like it was made of glass. Her heart beat fast as Keanu read it beside her, the edges of the paper trembling in his fingers. The handwriting was unmistakable, elegant, delicate. Keanu recognized it instantly. It belonged to his mother, Patricia. She had passed years ago, and though they had been close, there were things she never told him. Secrets tucked behind warm hugs and silent glances. This letter had never been sent. It had been folded and hidden in the back of a notebook that belonged to Emily's grandmother. How it ended up there, neither of them knew. But the words on it, they couldn't be ignored. To whoever finds this, if you're reading this, then the time has come. There is a child out there, a girl. I believe she may be connected to my son, Keanu. I've tried to find her, but life and fear held me back. Please, if she exists, tell her she is not forgotten." Keanu whispered the last line aloud. "Tell her she is not forgotten." Emily blinked. "What does this mean? Does she mean me?" Keanu shook his head slowly. "She wrote this years before you were born. This is someone else." They stared at each other, the weight of the letter settling over them. "Do you think," Emily began, "there's another sibling out there?" Keanu didn't speak. He simply nodded. The next few days passed in a blur. They couldn't ignore what they had found. Keanu made calls, old contacts, family friends, anyone who might know something. Emily searched through more of her grandmother's things. And then, by accident, she found a photograph stuck behind a picture frame. In the photo was a woman in her 20s, smiling softly. Her eyes were deep and kind. She looked like no one Emily had seen before, but something about her felt familiar. On the back of the photo, in faded ink, were 5 words. "Her name is Sarah. Find her." Keanu looked at the photo for a long time. Then he pulled out his own family album. Deep inside, among the old memories, he found another picture, almost the same woman, same eyes, same quiet smile. Standing next to his mother, she was real, he whispered. "My mom knew her." "Then why did she disappear?" Emily asked. They didn't know. But they were going to find out. Keanu made another call, this time to a private investigator he had worked with once in the past. The man was quiet, trustworthy, and good at what he did. "We're looking for a woman named Sarah," Keanu said. "We believe she may have been connected to my mother. Possibly family. We have only this photo." The investigator took the job without hesitation. "I'll find her," he said. "If she's out there, I'll find her." Days passed. Emily tried to stay focused on Lucas. He was learning new words now. Paul, light, uncle, his favorite word. He adored Keanu. Whenever he saw him, his eyes lit up, and he ran into his arms without hesitation. Emily watched them often, her heart full and heavy. Keanu wasn't just a celebrity, he was her brother, her protector, her family. But this new mystery had opened a door in their hearts, one that could change everything again. Then one evening, the call came. Keanu answered. The investigator spoke calmly. "I found her." Keanu stood still. "Where?" "Small town in Northern California. She works at a library, lives alone, no family listed. Her name? Sarah Reeves." Keanu's chest tightened. "Does she know?" "No," the investigator replied. "She doesn't know anything about you or your mother. She's lived quietly for years." Keanu hung up. He looked at Emily. "She's alive." Emily felt a rush of emotion. "What now?" "We go see her," Keanu said. "Together." The drive to the small town was quiet and long. Emily sat in the front seat, Lucas sleeping in the back. The trees changed color as they moved, the world growing more peaceful. It felt like they were heading not just to a town but into the past. When they reached the library, the sun was beginning to set. The building was small brick, with old wooden doors and a sign that read, "Cedar Grove Public Library." Keanu stepped out first. He took a deep breath. Then he walked inside. A woman was stacking books near the window. She turned when she heard the bell. She looked almost exactly like the photo. Older now, but still the same soft eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked. Keanu took a step forward. "Are you Sarah?" She nodded. "Yes," he hesitated. "My name is Keanu. This is Emily. We believe we may be family." Sarah's face changed. Confusion, then disbelief, then something deeper, recognition. "You look like her," she whispered. "My mother?" Keanu asked. Sarah nodded slowly. "I knew her, a long time ago." They sat down at a table. Lucas played quietly in a corner. Sarah looked at him, her eyes filling with tears. I was adopted, she said. Softly, I never knew my real parents. Just that my birth mother had to give me up when she was very young. I searched once, but there was nothing, no records. I thought maybe she didn't want to be found. Keanu reached into his jacket. He handed her the letter. Sarah read it slowly. By the time she finished, her hands were shaking. She wrote, "This?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Keanu nodded. "Yes." She tried to find you. Sarah broke down in tears. Silent, soft sobs that came from somewhere deep. I thought I was forgotten, she cried. All these years, I thought I was alone. Emily took her hand. You're not alone anymore. They talked for hours. About their childhoods, about their dreams, about everything and nothing. Sarah showed them old drawings she'd made. As a girl, images of families, of homes, of people she never met, but always imagined. Keanu looked at her. You were always part of us, even when we didn't know it. Lucas walked over then, holding his stuffed elephant, and climbed into Sarah's lap without hesitation. She held him like she'd been waiting for that moment, her entire life. As the night grew darker, the lights in the library glowed softer. 3 siblings, once strangers, now sat under the same roof. Not just sharing space, but sharing hearts. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees. Inside, something even stronger moved. Forgiveness. Healing. Family. And yet, there was still one more chapter waiting, because someone else had heard about the photo. Someone who hadn't spoken to Keanu in years. Someone who carried guilt heavy in his bones. His name was Samuel, and he was coming. The man at the edge of the past. Sky was overcast, the clouds heavy with silence. Keanu stood near the large window of the library, watching the wind move through the trees. Inside, Sarah brewed tea in the back room, while Emily played with Lucas near the children's reading corner. Laughter filled the space softly. It should have felt complete. It should have felt like the final chapter. But Keanu couldn't ignore the message he had received that morning. A number he hadn't seen in over 30 years. Keanu, it's me. We need to talk. I'm in town. Samuel, his father. The man who left, not just once, but from every version of Keanu's life. From his childhood, from every letter, from every birthday. And now suddenly, he wanted to talk. Keanu hadn't told Emily or Sarah yet. He didn't know how. What could he even say? How do you explain that the ghost of your pain wants to walk through the front door? The bell above the library chimed. Emily looked up. So did Keanu. The door opened, and there he was. Samuel Reeves. Older now, thinner, lines carved deep into his face. Hair mostly gray. But his eyes, those cold, unreadable eyes, were the same. Keanu took a breath, but didn't move. Samuel stepped inside quietly, as if the world might reject him if he made too much noise. Hello, son, he said. The word felt strange in the air. Too late. Too soft. Keanu didn't answer. Not right away. Sarah stood up behind the checkout desk, her hands gripping the wood. Emily froze, unsure who this man was, but the air had changed. Even Lucas went still, as if sensing something important. Samuel looked at them all. His voice cracked slightly. I didn't come to explain myself. I came to listen. If you'll let me. Keanu finally stepped forward. Why now? Samuel nodded slowly. Because for years, I lied to myself. I told myself you didn't need me, that you were better off. I walked away from your mother, from you, from another daughter I never met. He looked at Sarah now. And another girl I never even knew existed until a few days ago. He turned to Emily. I saw the photo. The moment you handed Keanu that baby, and he looked at you like you mattered, it broke something in me. Emily's voice was quiet but strong. Why did you leave them? Samuel sat down on the nearest chair. Because I was a coward. I made mistakes and thought leaving would make the pain go away. It didn't. It just passed it on to all of you. The silence was heavy. Keanu crossed his arms. You think you can fix this now? Samuel looked up at him. No, I know I can't fix the past. But maybe I can carry some of it with you now, if you'll let me. Sarah stepped forward then. I grew up believing my mother never wanted me. But I know now, she tried. She searched. And you, she pointed at him gently, you were supposed to be part of that story. And you weren't. You disappeared. I deserved better. Samuel nodded. You did. He turned to Keanu. So did you. Keanu said nothing. But Lucas, still too young to understand pain or regret, toddled over and held up his toy elephant to Samuel. The gesture made everyone freeze. Samuel knelt down slowly, tears in his eyes. Hi there, little guy, Lucas giggled, and pointed to his nose. Samuel smiled through watery eyes. Yep, that's my nose too. Something inside Keanu shifted. He didn't forgive instantly. Not fully, but he saw something he hadn't seen in a long time. Man truly sorry, not with excuses, but with open hands. I don't know if we can be a family, Keanu said quietly. But we can try to understand each other. Samuel stood slowly. That's more than I deserve. Emily walked over and took Lucas into her arms. Maybe it's not about who deserves what, she said softly. Maybe it's about who chooses to stay. Samuel looked at her and nodded. Then I'll stay, whatever it takes. Sarah came closer and placed a small old photo on the table, the one she'd drawn as a child of a family holding hands under a tree. She had always drawn 3 people. Now she added a 4th. Weeks passed. The story faded from headlines, but not from hearts. People still talked about the photo of Keanu and Emily. But by now, the world knew more about Sarah, about the family they found, and the one they were still rebuilding. Keanu took time off. Not for a movie, not for press. But for life. He visited Sarah at the library often. They talked about books, music, their mother. Sometimes they didn't talk at all. They just sat together, letting silence heal old wounds. He spent time with Lucas playing, reading, even changing a diaper or two. The boy loved him fiercely, and Keanu loved him back. Emily began writing. Not just letters or journals, but stories. Stories of kindness and broken people who still found light. One of her stories was published in a local paper. The title? The Man Who Bought Diapers and Stayed. Samuel visited once a week, not to fix things, but to show up. He planted flowers in Sarah's garden. He brought toys for Lucas. And he apologized often, never expecting to be forgiven, but always showing up anyway. On Lucas's 2nd birthday, they all gathered at the park. Sarah brought homemade cookies. Emily baked a cake. Keanu pushed Lucas on the swing while music played softly from a speaker nearby. At one point, Lucas looked up at them all, Emily, Keanu, Sarah, Samuel, and laughed so loudly, a few birds flew off the trees. In that moment, everything made sense. Life had been messy, painful, unexpected, but it had led them here. Not to a perfect place, but to each other. And that was enough. As the sun set, Keanu stood holding Lucas in his arms, watching the sky turn orange. Emily came and stood beside him. You changed my life, she said quietly. He looked at her. You changed mine, she smiled. Funny how diapers started all this. Keanu laughed. Yeah, and a toy elephant. She looked at him, eyes full of quiet strength. Thank you for not walking away. Keanu leaned down and kissed Lucas's forehead. Some things, he said, are worth staying for. And together, they stood under the fading light, not as strangers. Not as a story, but as a family.